Hello, Confucius here. Today I would like to draw your attention to a particular course that's offered at Cambridge University by its Asian and Middle Eastern Studies department. The course is called EAS1, East Asian Studies 1, and is intended to give first-year students reading Chinese or Japanese studies a comprehensive overview of the key events and themes that have seen China, Japan and Korea through their respective histories. This course particularly impressed me, and today, with the help of EAS1 students Lydia, Sam, hey, Jonathan, Harriet, and Callum, I'll explain why.
The work that we do for EAS1 is varied, which helps us to develop various skills that are essential for our further academic development. For the weekly lectures and seminars, we are given readings that relate to the particular topic studied. Whilst reading these chapters, journals, or even blog posts, we develop our ability to read swiftly and effectively, noting down only the essential information. During the seminars, we are encouraged to share our opinions to the class and discuss with our peers, which teaches us how to eloquently explain an argument in front of a group of people, and, crucially, how to listen to and respect other points of view. EAS1 sets 5 assignments. They are assessed but do not count towards our final grade at the end of the year, giving us some breathing space to develop our writing skills without pressure of a permanent mark. The course does have an assessment at the end of the year instead. Essays often push us out of our comfort zone. Crafting an essay title out of a range of topics we can choose from, searching for books in the deep dark depths of the university library, and handling and forming arguments around complex concepts such as invented tradition or othering can be challenging, but this makes the course all the more rewarding. The discussions and advice we are given during our one-on-one or two-on-one supervisions for each essay are also crucial for our academic progress. Furthermore, the final infomercial on EAS1 assignment that we are presenting to you now again shows that the course wants us to become well-rounded academics, being able to convey ideas in person as well as on paper.
Throughout the course, students are confronted by an incredible range of disciplines. From ancient dynastic history to contemporary cultural studies, EAS1 covers everything. This broad range of disciplines was visible from the very start. We began our degree with Said in 1978, post-colonialism and anthropology. Then, just a week later, we were back to the 4th century BCE to look at the philosophy of Confucius and the history of the Warring States. EAS1 doesn't just cover ideologies either, though. We found ourselves reading papers on linguistics or doing close textual analysis on some classical Japanese travel writing. Whatever one may think of the term area study, it's hard to avoid seeing value in this truly holistic approach. Whilst a degree in history may give you a profound knowledge of even a wide range of past events, what EAS1 enables is a much broader understanding of a region beyond any specific specialism. Where else can one go from studying Honglo Mang one week to Korean Confucianism the next? EAS1 truly allows you to go off-piste and see East Asia as a whole.
A particularly interesting feature of the course was the way in which it highlighted and dismissed various myths surrounding East Asia. This was firstly the case when we looked into Orientalism, the common perspective that the East is distinct from the West as a result of numerous features unique to each region. We discovered that many of the features considered to be characteristic of each region, such as rationality, democracy and rapid economic development in the West and despotism in the East, had in fact been present in both regions, showing that the Occident and Orient were not as different from each other as they had been made out to be, and therefore undermining the very basis for Orientalism as a concept. A number of myths were also unravelled when we learnt about the samurai, as we discovered that, contrary to their portrayal in popular culture, they were often undisciplined, dishonourable and disloyal, that for the most part they used the bow and arrow as their primary weapon instead of the sword, and that the concepts of a warrior class and of a code of honour were non-existent throughout much of their history. Our study of invented traditions again highlighted a number of myths surrounding East Asia, as it showed that many practices which we considered to be deeply rooted in a country's culture were in fact invented relatively recently to instil certain behaviours or values into a population, to create a sense of national identity, or to justify a regime. For example, female domesticity was encouraged in Japan by erroneously presenting this as the way in which Japanese women had conducted themselves throughout the ages, and the idea that the code of honour had long been adhered to by samurai was introduced by the Tokugawa to present warriors as respectable, and therefore to justify their central role in government. A final myth which was dispelled during the course was the feudal myth, the idea that essentially the same societal organisation present in medieval Europe was also present in China and Japan, since although they bore resemblances in that their societies were decentralised and that landowners were often warriors, there was not the same direct exchange of land for service all the way down the Chinese and Japanese hierarchies as there was in medieval Europe, and in Japan, the daimyo landowners often lived in cities and therefore shared weaker bonds with their subjects than those European barons living on their estates.
As opposed to studying our specialist country in isolation, in EAS1 we discuss the area of East Asia as a whole, which brings many benefits. Primarily because the constant interaction in the region makes it difficult to look at the history of any one country alone. There has been frequent adoption and adaptation of culture between the areas, such as with the written characters which have been used throughout the area for a long period, and are still used today to varying degrees in each country, and also shared philosophies such as Confucianism and Buddhism, which have no doubt shaped their development over the course of their history. In addition, we can't see them entirely separately, simply due to the important relationships between them, such as wars, taking as an example the Sino-Japanese Wars, trade and cultural exchange. Korea's shifting position, acting somewhat as a middleman between them, is another example. It acted both as a tributary state of China and a Japanese territory. Plus, it helps us to look at them together as they all experienced similar events, such as the Mongolian invasions, swift modernization, and the coming of the West and forcing into unequal treaties. Not only does it benefit us to look at these countries together for ease of understanding the region as a whole, but it is interesting to look at these regions and see how different they have become in the modern era, considering how closely linked their history has been and their constant interactions with each other for centuries. Maybe it is also better to study this region in order to give us a broader worldview, in a sense to put these countries into perspective, not only in their region, but in order to put the region itself into a position in the history of the whole world. During the course, we cover a large period of time ranging from the first Chinese dynasty Xia through the first examples of Chinese writing on oracle bones to modernization, communism and democratization until the present day, discussing modern society ranging from Japanese punctuality to Chinese memes. Not only is it important because it gives us a clear overview of the entire period, allowing us to understand the progression of events that lead up to the countries that we see today in East Asia, but also we can begin to notice recurring themes such as the varying importance of Confucianism throughout the history of this region, and so proving that nothing in the past is irrelevant today. Confucianism's popularity wavers over the course of East Asian history, beginning during the flourishing of philosophies in the Warring States period, then slowly being overtaken by Buddhism, only to be revitalized in the Tang and Song dynasties as Neo-Confucianism. During the communist period in China, it was blamed for the century of humiliation, and now we see unveiling of Confucian statues in China. In Japan, Neo-Confucianism was promoted during the Tokugawa shogunate and is now used to make a capitalist society more successful. And in Korea, even though Neo-Confucianism lost lots of its influence after the fall of the Joseon dynasty, there are still lots of Confucian ideas and practices that still remain in South Korean culture and daily life.
One of the most important aspects of the course is how it brings together students from Chinese studies and Japanese studies. The intelligent conversations you have with like-minded individuals offer a comfortable environment in which you can share your views and encounter new perspectives. Seminars offer the perfect place to see this flourish. Being aware of how the country you're focusing on is perceived by those who study its neighbours, and how it has interacted with them over history, is a valuable tool that will make you even more of an expert and test your assumptions. On top of this, the opportunity to interact with people studying such similar degrees with such interactive histories means that you are surrounded by a pool of empathetic people. You never have to look too far to find a helping hand. For example, Harriet taught me a more effective way of learning Chinese characters, and I showed Phoenix, who then found it helpful for learning kanji. The feeling of mutual interest, solidarity and support between students before essay deadlines is also a uniquely positive aspect of EAS1.
Thank you, students. All in all, EAS1 is almost beyond description. With its interdisciplinary approach and broad coverage, the course allows us to learn to see the bigger picture in all its complexities. Whether or not the region of East Asia can really be defined by geographical borders, taking this broad view of the area and the influences that have shaped and defined it for millennia truly enables us to acquire an unprecedented level of understanding. With its freedom of choice in assignments to its wide range of topics offered, EAS1 allows you not just to cater to your own strengths and interests, but also to explore unfamiliar ground and perhaps even discover some new passions. After all, 学而时习者，不亦乐乎? To learn and to practice what you've learned. Isn't this delightful? Keep learning, friends!